The Collins family, in turn, created the Unitarian Church. Unitarian Church, in turn, created Yale, which is their New Haven. Yale has been a hotbed, has been a major focal point for a lot of Illuminati activity. People that were connected to the Illuminati have come over and taught at Yale. They created the Skull and Bone Society and Scroll and Key and some other Illuminati fraternal organizations there. So Yale has been a very important place. Well, okay, so then we've got the Unitarians, which originally pretended to be Presbyterians, but were really not Presbyterians. They were supported by state funds for a while in the early history of Connecticut. So we had a number of these Unitarian ministers that got together and created a club that was called the Bird Club. And the Bird Club, in turn, their big project was to foment revolution, and they were the ones that were instrumental in turning John Brown into who John Brown was. They brought over a guy named Bondi from Europe. Well, Charles Sumner, who was a senator who belonged to the Bird Club, he went over to Europe and talked with Giuseppe Mazzini. Mazzini, if you get into European history, you'll find out he was a major revolutionist, and he was Illuminati. He was connected back with a lot of these secret occult organizations. Mazzini is a big figure. Americans haven't heard so much about him. But anyway, Charles Sumner was over there, and through those connections with the Illuminati revolutionists in Europe, he brought over this guy, this train, Bondi, to train John Brown. So John Brown just wasn't this loose cannon that all of a sudden decided to do this stuff. He was being funded, he was being supplied, he was being trained by these Unitarians that connect back into this whole Illuminati string of activity.
You know, Fritz, if I can just interrupt, it's very interesting because right around, first of all, John Brown came from this town that I live in, Torrington. I live in Torrington, Connecticut. This is where we're broadcasting from, Torrington, Connecticut. And interestingly enough, Collinsville is just a few miles away. And all of these names and stuff that you're mentioning are still resonating very clearly here. And there is a Masonic temple on a five-corner, on five corners, with it facing the temple is facing, the actual face of the temple is facing to the southeast, and it is in the center of Unionville, Connecticut. Interestingly enough, Unitarian Unionville. It's very funny. Very funny how you learn something new every day. Listen, we're having a little bit of a jar, in and out with the Skype there. Are you hearing us good enough?
You come in broken, but if I can't hear you, I'll just ask you to repeat yourself.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking maybe I don't know if we want to try to get a better connection. What do you think, Truth? Truth War.
You mean hang up and call again?
I don't know, because it's getting a little jarbled. I think the demons are at it again.
Yeah, the funny thing is that you both sound pretty clear to me.
Oh, you both we sound clear as long as listen, Truth, you're the engineer. If we sound good to the people, that's fine. Okay.
All right, Fritz. Fritz, I'd like to get into another bloodline that I have. I do a lot of research into. I feel it's which is the tribe of Dan. I see, you got the Danube River, the River of Dan. You got Denmark, the Danish. A lot seems to come from the tribe of Dan. Is there anything you could add that you know about the tribe of Dan and this bloodline, or who comes from that now?
Well, people that are familiar with the Old Testament scriptures will notice, if you look real closely, that the tribe of Dan, their logo was a snake, and and they're the black sheep of the 12 tribes. In fact, you will notice, and people probably have not looked, so they haven't really noticed, but when they list all of the tribes in Revelations that are in heaven, the tribe of Dan isn't there. The tribe of Dan was in ancient Israel, but they don't make it into heaven. You'll see that all the tribes that are listed, Dan is not listed in the book of Revelation. But the tribe of Joseph was split into Ephraim and Manasseh, and so they got a double portion, and so they're able to, well, I'm splitting the tribe of Joseph into two tribes, able to have 12 tribes in heaven, but the tribe of Dan doesn't make it there. The tribe of Dan became very evil, and there's a history out there. I'm not the only person that's been trying to track down the tribe of Dan, and basically what you see is the tribe of Dan went to Greece, and they became the leaders, the political leaders of Greece. And from Greece, then, these powerful families moved to Rome and became mixed in with the powerful families in Rome, and became Roman leadership. And anybody who knows history knows that the Caesars were very corrupt, and your whole aristocratic class there in Rome were exceptionally corrupt. So that was one way that the tribe of Dan got into the elite bloodlines, was that way. But there are also some other migrations. The tribe of Dan, there was another group that went to Scotland, and then there was another group that came overland and left names, a series of rivers across Russia named after. All right?
Yeah.
Yep. Truth was just giving us a little note that we're getting a little, it was a little echo. I was just trying to fix it. I don't know if it's better, but...
Yeah. So in your book, would they fall under the 13th Holy Movingian? Is that where their bloodline would fall?
You asked me about the Merovingians?
Well, I mean, this bloodline that we're talking about that went to Greece and then to Rome, is this part of the Movingian bloodline?
Well, the Merovingians, to go back to ruler named Monroe, and that's different. But one thing that you have to understand is, over a period of time, the Illuminati have managed to interbreed these powerful families. The idea is that they're taking the occult power that these different families have and multiplying it synergistically by interbreeding.
Okay. That's how they
while
hide
there
it.
is a lot of inbreeding, they try to keep marrying within their bloodlines. They do bring in other bloodlines that are powerful in order to. It's like
Hello?
their blood with other powerful bloodlines. So the tribe of Dan has worked their way in, and from what I've been informed, is that your Antichrist is going to have blood from a number of these powerful bloodlines, including the tribe of Dan.
Wow. The Movingian.
Are you still there?
Yes, we're here. We have to. We're having a little bit of a echoing. So when we speak, when you're speaking, we have to mute the mic. Just so you know. But just want to. There was a little bit of a static. I just want to make sure that your voice is getting heard well.
I was gonna.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all. Little technical issues. Sorry.
Fritz, to stay on the Movingian, you have in here where they talk about they consider themselves divine and descendants of Lucifer. What do you have to say? Do you think they actually, like, this is real, or this is something they're claiming? Can you get into this? Do they actually have the bloodline of Jesus and Lucifer?
Wow, that's a very sensitive issue for Christians as to whether Christ had children or not.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, the Merovingians believe that they're a holy bloodline that have the blood of Christ in them. And this is the 13th bloodline. There's a secret society formed to protect that bloodline, the Priory of Zion, which works then through other secret societies. Is it true or not? I can't make a statement one way or the other. I know that they well, at least sincerely, believe that they are descended from Christ. I've heard a lot of people express varying ideas as to, but at this point, I just have to say, I really don't know.
Well, I would say
I probably take issue with some Christians that just dismiss it out of hand, because I know that Christ was a rabbi, and rabbis back then, you weren't considered a respectable rabbi unless you were married. So it wouldn't surprise me if Christ was married. But
I agree with you, but I think that since they, I don't know if you know, but they've been for the past couple years with this guy Dan Brown and the Da Vinci Code and others. It's like the media in Hollywood kind of putting the message out there. So that's what really makes me start to doubt it, because I feel like if it was real, they probably wouldn't be letting us know. So that's something that I feel like it's probably not real. So that's all I had to add. I just wanted to hear your opinion about that. Well,
and that's about all I would have as an opinion. I don't know the final conclusion as to whether they are or aren't. But I can say this, that the teachings of Christ have to be spiritually understood, and just like the people back in ancient Israel, they thought that maybe because, their forefather was Abraham, that placed them in a special category, and it doesn't. Each person has to spiritually become a child of Christ and a child of God. It doesn't matter if you can genealogically trace yourself back to a good person. You yourself need to have the ransom blood of Christ. You yourself need to have faith, and you can't get into heaven on the ticket of having some ancient forefather that was a godly person.
Yes.
It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Another thing that I've talked about on this show, I'd like to have you to back it up so it's more clear to people that I forget if which interview I watched you talk about this, but about Onassis and about with the wars where like everybody's boat basically went down except for all of Onassis were left unharmed. I'd like to, if you could tell the audience a little bit about that if they maybe didn't believe me, they could believe you.
I think that's one of the ways that people can see that history has been manipulated.